Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into a really unsettling story. It's about a young woman who just vanished, disappeared without a trace from a Disney cruise ship.
Yeah, it's that contrast, isn't it? The
Yeah.
whole Disney magic thing, supposed to be idyllic, and then this stark reality of a crew member just
Oh,
gone.
exactly. It leaves you with so many questions. So our mission today is to really dig into the facts surrounding Rebecca Coriam's disappearance.
Huh.
This was back in March 2011 from the Disney Wonder.
Hmm.
We've got quite a bit of material, detailed accounts, a key article from The Guardian, and we want to sift through it all, look at the conflicting stories, and basically leave you with the clearest picture possible of this enduring mystery.
Okay.
So let's start with Rebecca herself. Who is she? She was from Chester in England, born in 87.
Right.
Worked at Chester Zoo, was in the Air Cadets, studied sports science and youth work. Her parents described her as constantly cheerful and upbeat.
That sounds like exactly the kind of person Disney Cruise Line would hire.
Totally. And that's what happened. She'd worked at Camp America teaching sports and then got the Disney job, first on Bahamas routes, then the Disney Wonder out of LA.
Okay.
The last time her family actually saw her was just a few weeks before she disappeared. She'd flown back to Chester for her grandfather's funeral.
Ah, right. So fast forward to March 2011. The Wonder leaves Los Angeles. Rebecca's keeping in touch with her parents, right?
Yeah, apparently quite regularly. She sent her last Facebook message on March 21st, said she'd call them the next day.
Okay. And then nothing.
Exactly. Her mom started to worry when 12 hours went by and still no call.
Understandable. So the alarm gets raised on board.
Yes, the next morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Rebecca misses her shift. The ship's off the coast of Mexico by then.
And they can't find her?
Nope, not in her room, no answer to the PA pages. She's just vanished from the ship.
Wow.
And this is where it gets, really crucial. The CCTV footage.
Mm-hmm. Security cameras.
They find footage of her from 5.45 that morning. She's in a crew area on an internal phone. And she looks visibly upset, distraught, actually.
Okay.
Then a young man comes up to her, seems to ask if she's okay. You can lip read her saying, yeah, fine. She hangs up.
Yeah, fine, but looking distraught.
Right. Then she walks away, pushes her hair back, puts her hands in her back pockets. Her parents later said, yeah, those were her mannerisms. They recognized them instantly.
And that's the last time she's seen on any camera.
That's what we're told. No record of her anywhere after that 5.45 a.m. footage. Though there was this early kind of unverified rumor from another crew member
Oh.
claiming she'd gone overboard much earlier, around 3 a.m., which obviously conflicts with the CCTV time.
Right, that doesn't quite line up.
Yeah.
So what's the immediate response? She's missing.
Well, the crew searches the entire ship, obviously, and the U.S. Coast Guard and the Mexican Navy get involved.
Searching the water.
Yes, searching the area where the Wonder had been sailing.
Yeah.
But they found nothing.
Okay. And the ship itself. It's registered in the Bahamas, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, which means the investigation falls under their jurisdiction. So a detective from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the RBPF, he flies out to meet the ship when it gets back to LA.
And how thorough was that investigation?
Well, that's a key point of contention. The official RBPF report says the detective spent several days on board investigating.
Okay, several days sounds reasonable.
Rebecca's parents, the Coriams, they were flown out from England too, and they claimed the detective told them he was only on the ship for 1 day.
1 day. That's drastically different.
Huge difference. And they also said he told them he'd only interviewed a few crew members and none of the passengers.
Wait, none of the passengers?
Huh.
On a cruise ship where someone just vanished? That seems strange.
It really does. And the family's arrival experience sounds pretty weird, too. They said Disney basically kept them in a car with blacked out windows.
Blacked out windows?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, and then brought them onto the ship through some side entrance, only after all the other passengers had left. Very controlled.
Wow. It sounds like they were trying to manage the situation, maybe keep it quiet.
That's certainly the impression it gives. Once on board, they met the captain. He gave his theory
Which was?
that Rebecca was at the crew pool and got washed overboard by a wave. A rogue wave, basically.
Washed overboard from the crew pool. Did the parents buy that?
They doubted it immediately. They pointed out the pool area had really high walls. They just couldn't see how a wave could do that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
After that, they had a meeting. Disney executives were there, and also the woman Rebecca had been talking to on the phone in that CCTV clip.
Ah, the person she was speaking to when she looked upset. Did anything come of that meeting?
The sources don't really detail what was said specifically in that meeting, unfortunately. It just notes it happened.
Okay. And then there was that strange sighting later on.
Yeah, about a year later, Rebecca's dad gets an email. A woman says she's like 85% sure she saw Rebecca in Venice, Italy the previous August with a dark-haired man.
How would she even get there?
Exactly. That's the big question. Her passport, her bank cards, all her belongings were found in her cabin. So traveling internationally, it seems impossible. Probably a case of mistaken identity, sadly.
Right. Still must have been a bit of a roller coaster for the family, though.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about John Ronson's investigation. He's a journalist, right?
Yeah, Welsh-American journalist.
Yeah.
He actually took the same cruise on the Wonder later in 2011, trying to discreetly ask around. He wrote about it for The Guardian.
And what did he find? Did the crew talk to him?
Well, that was the thing. He found most abandons were really reluctant, tight-lipped.
Mm-hmm.
There was that one bartender who famously told him, it didn't happen. You know, that's the answer I have to give.
Wow. The answer I have to give, that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It really does. Suggests they were told what to say or what not to say.
So did Ronson form his own theory?
Initially, yeah. After looking around the passenger areas, he thought maybe she'd been jogging on deck 4. There's a track there, and the railings are apparently quite low.
Okay, so maybe an accident while jogging.
Plausible, he thought. And he noted that whole area was covered by security cameras, even though they were kind of disguised.
But the crew told him something different.
They did. A deck worker basically told him, no, you're wrong. Everyone knows she went overboard from the crew pool. Deck 5.
The crew pool again, same as the captain's theory.
Exactly. And this worker mentioned a flip-flop being found there as, like, proof.
A flip-flop. Okay, we need to circle back to that later.
Definitely. And then there was Melissa. That wasn't her real name. But the Coriams introduced her to Ronson.
Right. What does she add?
She said that the day after Rebecca disappeared, flowers suddenly appeared on the wall near that crew pool. Placed there by the company, apparently.
Why would they do that?
Her quote was, "It really stirred things up. Why were they putting them there? Nothing was clear." It felt like a weird gesture if the cause was unknown.
Yeah, almost like marking a spot prematurely. Did Ronson believe the crew pool theory?
He was skeptical. He pointed out the high steel walls around it, and also that it had obvious, conspicuously mounted security cameras. If something happened there, it should have been recorded.
But the crew kept insisting.
Yeah, pretty much everyone he spoke to insisted. Crew pool. One even said, Disney knows exactly what happened. Everything here is taped. Disney has the tape.
Chilling, suggesting there's footage they aren't showing.
That's the implication. Though some also mentioned the seas might have been rough, making it possible to be tossed off from there, and that being on deck in those conditions was against the rules anyway.
So a messy picture. Rogue wave, jogging accident, crew pool accident, maybe something else. What did the official investigation finally conclude?
Well, officially, the RBPF concluded she went overboard. Possibly, quote, as a result of a rogue wave.
Back to the rogue wave. But the family never got the report.
No. They say they were promised it but never received it. And later Freedom of Information requests by British detectives were denied, citing restricted personal information. So the full official findings remain unpublished.
That lack of transparency is troubling.
Yeah.
What about other theories? You mentioned relationships earlier.
Right, the love triangle angle came up.
Uh-huh.
A crew member told Ronson that Rebecca's distraught phone call was actually recorded.
Recorded by Disney.
Apparently internal calls sometimes are. And people believe she was talking to a romantic partner. Melissa described a relationship Rebecca was in as very, very intense, swinging between great and awful.
Mm-hmm.
And the Coriams later told a local paper, the Liverpool Echo, that they'd heard names, a young woman and an older man on board potentially involved.
Mm-hmm.
So personal drama could have been a factor in her distress.
Okay, but her parents felt strongly she wasn't suicidal.
Absolutely convinced. They pointed to her cheerful personality, the surprise Disneyland Paris trip she was planning for them. They found the passes in her room.
Wow. Yeah, that doesn't sound like someone planning to end things.
No, and her constant Facebook messages with her mom right up until the day before. Melissa thought maybe Rebecca went to the crew pool, her favorite spot, just to be alone and clear her head. And Melissa described Rebecca as a bit of a risk taker. So she speculated maybe Rebecca climbed up and sat on that high wall and then fell accidentally.
Okay, that's another possibility. An accident born from distress, maybe.
Yeah.
Now, let's get back to those flip-flops. This becomes a really big deal, doesn't it?
It really does. Because Melissa, who knew Rebecca well, saw the flip-flops. Disney returned to the parents and had immediate doubts.
What were her doubts?
She said, they were too big. They weren't her style. Described them as pink, flowery, Hawaiian-looking, just not Rebecca. And she wondered why Disney hadn't asked her, or Rebecca's girlfriend at the time, to identify them first.
Good point. And the parents agreed.
Yeah, the Coriams later said the same thing. They looked too small for Rebecca's feet, actually,
Yeah.
and nobody remembered seeing her wear them. And crucially, no forensic tests were done on them.
No forensics. They just hand them over.
Seems like it. But then years later, in 2016, there's a major breakthrough.
Okay.
Private investigators, hired by the family, managed to establish conclusively that the flip-flops were not Rebecca's. Get this. They found they had another crew member's name and cabin number written inside them.
What? Seriously? Someone else's name?
Yes. Which completely blew the lid off the idea that these flip-flops were found near the pool and belonged to Rebecca. It made the family strongly doubt the whole crew pool theory pushed by Disney.
I mean, yeah, that suggests either a massive mistake or something deliberate. Misdirection.
It certainly raises that question. And another small detail, friends, noted that clothes Rebecca was wearing in that last CCTV footage looked way too big for her. They wondered if maybe they were someone else's clothes.
Huh. Adding another layer of weirdness. This leads to darker theories, doesn't it? Foul play.
It does. Chris Matheson, who was the MP for Chester at the time, became heavily involved. He stated publicly he believed Rebecca was a victim of a crime.
A crime? Like what?
Possibly, he suggested, sexually assaulted or even murdered. He said in 2015, the more you look into this, the more it smells rotten, like a crime has taken place. And he claimed his copy of the police report contained compelling evidence pointing that way.
Compelling evidence of a crime in the police report. But that report hasn't been made public.
Correct. So we don't know what that evidence is. And remember, private investigator John Anderson, he also debunked the rogue wave theory pretty firmly.
How so?
He checked weather records, said the seas were actually normal that night, not stormy. And any wave big enough to wash someone off a ship like the Wonder would have caused obvious damage to the ship itself, which it didn't have.
Right. That makes physical sense.
And even former Deputy Prime Minister Baron John Prescott got involved. He publicly stated his belief that Rebecca was likely thrown overboard rather than having fallen.
Thrown overboard. That's a huge accusation.
It is. And he used the case to call for changes in maritime law, so British authorities could investigate deaths of UK citizens on ships in international waters, regardless of where the ship is registered.
Which brings us to the whole systemic issue, right? Why was this investigation seemingly so flawed?
Exactly. The Coriams were incredibly frustrated. They got no real updates from Disney or the Bahamian police.
Yeah.
Just constant, the investigation is ongoing. That RBPF detective. John Ronson tried calling him multiple times, never got a call back.
Remote.
Pretty much. And it wasn't just them. British MPs, Rebecca's friends, advocates for other victims, they all joined in the criticism, highlighting that statistic.
The 170 disappearances.
Yeah, 170 passengers and crew vanished from cruise ships since 2000.
Yeah.
Many cases, they argue, aren't properly investigated or even widely reported. It points to a pattern.
And the underlying accusation is that cruise lines, including Disney, are more worried about bad press than finding the truth.
That's the core criticism, yes. Protecting the brand image above all else.
Did the political pressure achieve anything? You mentioned MPs getting involved.
It did, actually.
Yeah.
MP Stephen Mosley raised it in the House of Commons in late 2011. He slammed the Bahamian investigation as appalling and almost toothless. He really hammered the point about these flags of convenience ships registering in places like the Bahamas, specifically to avoid stricter regulations and oversight. He said people just don't realize how little protection that offers them.
It's a really important point for anyone going on a cruise.
Definitely. And the government responded. The Minister for Shipping, Mike Penning, announced a major change.
What was that?
The UK's Marine Accident Investigation Branch would now investigate deaths or disappearances of British citizens from any vessel worldwide, similar to a law President Obama signed giving the FBI jurisdiction for U.S. citizens.
So Rebecca's case directly led to a change in UK law.
It seems so. Penning even called out Disney directly at the time, saying they seemed more interested in getting the ship back to sea than in investigating the case. Strong words from a government minister.
Wow. And advocacy groups were pushing too.
Absolutely. People like Kendall Carver, who founded International Cruise Victims after his own daughter vanished from a ship. He pointed out that ship security works for the cruise line, creating a conflict of interest if the line could be sued.
Right. They're not independent investigators.
Exactly. And Jim Walker, a Miami lawyer known for his Cruise Law News website, got involved too. He famously said the Coriams didn't deserve Mickey Mouse games. from Disney.
He ended up representing the family, didn't he?
Yes, he represented them in a lawsuit against Disney filed in the U.S.
And what happened with the lawsuit?
They settled in 2015. The terms were undisclosed, and crucially, the settlement included an agreement that the family wouldn't discuss the case publicly anymore.
Ah. So a legal resolution, but it silenced the family and didn't bring public answers.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Which leaves those lingering questions about what Disney might know. Both Carver and Walker believe Disney likely has more evidence than they've shown.
Like more security footage, especially from that crew pool area.
Exactly. Carver's point is powerful. There's no way someone can go off a ship and it not be recorded. He argues they're covering up what happened to avoid bad publicity and liability.
And Melissa had a theory about why they might cover it up, relating to the bridge.
Yeah, she pointed out the crew pool is located just below the ship's bridge. If someone fell or was pushed from there around 6 a.m., the bridge crew, if they were doing their jobs watching ahead, should have seen something.
So if they didn't see anything,
Then maybe they weren't watching properly, which is negligence. Or if they did see something, well, that opens up a whole other can of worms. Her question was chilling. If they didn't see her, they're covering up why they didn't.
it implies either incompetence or a cover-up at the highest level of the ship's operation. What was Disney's final word on all this?
When Ronson asked, they just deferred to the Bahamian police, said the investigation was ongoing even years later, and refused to comment on specifics, like the phone recording or extra video footage.
Just the standard line.
Yeah. Their statement was basically, "We wish we knew what happened. Rebecca's disappearance has been difficult and heartbreaking for everyone." Non-committal.
So here we are, more than 14 years later. Rebecca Coriam is still officially missing. Unsolved.
The family, bound by the settlement, can't speak out anymore. We're left with this tangled mess of theories, official opacity, questions about jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's just, you trace it from that awful, distraught phone call through all the weirdness with the investigation, the flip-flops, the conflicting stories, the fight for transparency. It's heartbreaking for the family, stuck without answers.
It really is. And this deep dive, I think, really shows how incredibly difficult pursuing truth can be, especially when you're up against, corporate interests, jurisdictional black holes, and information being tightly controlled.
Absolutely. Those details, the flip-flops with someone else's name, the blacked-out windows, the calls for better accountability, they paint such a stark picture of this family's struggle.
A struggle against a very powerful industry that often operates, like you said, outside of easy public view or scrutiny.
So for you listening, this isn't just one tragic story. It's a real case study in, well, navigating information, trying to figure out what's true when stories conflict, and the fight for accountability when powerful entities are involved. What part of this whole unsettling story stands out most to you? And maybe think about this. If knowledge really is power, how much power do any of us have when the most vital pieces of a puzzle like this seem to just vanish at sea, kept hidden? Why do some secrets stay buried in the deep?